What's up, Wrestle Scope Nation? You need to stop what you're doing right now because what I'm about to tell you is going to absolutely shatter everything you thought you knew about WWE, about loyalty, and about the so-called new era we've been sold for the past several months. I'm talking about Monday Night Raw. I'm talking about a moment that has the entire wrestling world in an uproar. I'm talking about the tribal chief making a statement that nobody, and I mean nobody, saw coming. But here's what's got me absolutely fired up, and here's what should have you ready to blow up the comment section right now. We were lied to. We were told the Bloodline was done. We were told Roman Reigns had moved on. We were told this was a new chapter. And last night on Raw, WWE pulled back the curtain on what might be the most calculated, most controversial return in modern wrestling history. So buckle up, because this story goes deeper than you think, and by the end of this video, you're going to understand why this changes everything. Hello viewers, if you're new here, please don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button for daily updates on WWE Raw. The setup, the lie we were sold. Let's rewind the clock for a second, because to understand the magnitude of what happened on Raw, you need to understand the narrative WWE has been feeding us for months. After WrestleMania, after Roman Reigns finally took his break from WWE television, we were told a story. The story was simple. The Bloodline was fractured beyond repair. The Usos were on their own path. Solo Sikoa had taken over. Roman was gone, potentially forever, enjoying his time away from the business. And you know what? We bought it. The Usos showed up on Raw, looking to reclaim their spot as the greatest tag team of this generation. They cut promos about doing it on their own, about proving they didn't need the tribal chief, about showing the world that Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso were more than just Roman's cousins riding his coattails to glory. It was inspiring, right? It was the redemption arc we all wanted to see. Two brothers, bonded by blood, bonded by battle, ready to take on the world without the shadow of Roman Reigns looming over them. WWE even gave us weeks of storytelling. The Usos battling through contenders, they fought tooth and nail against Judgment Day remnants, they went to war with newer tag teams trying to make a name. Every single week, commentary reminded us, these Usos are different now. They're fighting for themselves. They're writing their own story. And then came the title match on Raw. The Usos versus the current Raw Tag Team Champions in what was being billed as the culmination of their journey, the ultimate test. Could they finally capture tag team gold without Roman Reigns? Could they prove that they were never just accessories to the tribal chief's reign of dominance? The match was brutal. I'm talking about a 30-plus minute war that had the crowd on their feet. Near falls, high-risk maneuvers, counters and reversals that only brothers with that kind of chemistry could pull off. The Usos threw everything they had at the champions. But here's where it gets interesting. Here's where the cracks started to show. At around the 25-minute mark, the champions started to take control, and not just any control, dominant control. The Usos were getting beaten down. Jimmy took a superplex from the top rope that looked like it separated his spine from his body. Jey got caught in a submission that had him screaming in agony, his hand hovering over the mat inches from tapping out. The commentary team sold it perfectly. The Usos are in trouble. They might have bitten off more than they can chew. Without Roman Reigns, without the Bloodline, are they really championship material? And right there, in that moment, WWE planted the seed, the doubt, the question that every single person watching started to ask themselves. Can the Usos actually do this without Roman? The moment that broke the internet. Now, the champions are setting up for their finish. The crowd is electric, but you can feel the tension. Everyone in that arena is on the edge of their seat, waiting to see if the Usos can pull off a miracle. Jimmy is down on the outside. Jey is alone in the ring, staggering, barely able to stand. The champions are measuring him up. They're calling for the end. This is it. The Usos' dream is about to die right there in the middle of that ring. And then, the lights go out. Now, I need you to understand something. When I say the lights went out, I don't mean a power failure. I don't mean a technical glitch. I mean WWE killed the lights in that arena with purpose, with intent. The crowd erupted into a sound I can only describe as controlled chaos. People were on their feet, phones came out, everyone knew something big was about to happen, but nobody knew what. 5 seconds of darkness, 5 seconds that felt like an eternity. And then, piercing through the silence, through the darkness, through the confusion, the tribal chief's music exploded through that arena like a sonic boom. And I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that the crowd noise reached levels that probably violated several sound ordinance laws. People were screaming, people were crying. The energy in that building was absolutely insane. The spotlight hit the entrance ramp, and there he was, Roman Reigns,
the tribal chief, the head of the table, looking like he never left, looking like the most dominant force in professional wrestling was back to reclaim what's his. But here's what's got people furious. Here's what has social media in an absolute meltdown right now. Roman didn't just show up to watch. He didn't appear to observe from a distance or to simply acknowledge his cousin's efforts. No. Roman Reigns walked down that ramp with purpose, with intent, with that look in his eyes that tells you someone's about to get hurt. The champions in the ring were frozen. You could see it on their faces. The same champions who had been dominating the Usos for the past 10 minutes were suddenly questioning every decision that led them to this moment. Roman climbed onto the apron. He didn't get in the ring immediately. He just stood there, staring at the champions with that intense, calculated look that made him the most feared man in WWE for over 1,300 days. The referee was confused, the announcers were losing their minds, and the Usos, Jay was looking at Roman with a mixture of relief, confusion, and something else. Something that looked a lot like resentment. Here's where it gets controversial. The referee was distracted. One of the champions made the mistake of getting close to Roman's corner, and in a moment that will be replayed and debated for years, Roman Reigns reached through the ropes and delivered a devastating punch, a super punch from the apron that absolutely obliterated the champion. The guy crumpled like he'd been shot. His partner turned around, saw his teammate unconscious, and walked right into a super kick from Jay. Then Jimmy rolled back into the ring, and the Usos hit their signature 1D finisher on the remaining champion. 1, 2, 3. New tag team champions. But here's the thing that nobody is talking about. Here's the detail that should have everyone questioning what we just witnessed. As the referee counted 3, as Jimmy and Jay's hands were being raised, as the championships were being placed around their waists, the camera caught Jay's face, and for just a split second you could see it. Not joy, not celebration, but conflict. Because Jay Uso, the same Jay who fought so hard to get out from Roman's thumb, who battled his own cousin at SummerSlam, who finally found his own identity, just won the biggest match of his career because Roman Reigns interfered. The celebration in the ring should have been the moment. The Usos, new tag team champions, standing tall, proving they still have what it takes to be at the top of the division. But instead, all eyes were on Roman Reigns. The tribal chief slowly entered the ring. The crowd was at a fever pitch. Nobody knew what was about to happen next. Was Roman there to celebrate with his family? Was he there to take credit? Was he there to reclaim his position as the head of the table? Jimmy immediately went to Roman, emotions running high. He hugged his cousin, clearly overcome with the moment. You could see Jimmy's genuine happiness, not just at winning the titles, but at having his family back together. But Jay hung back. He held his title, stared at Roman, and you could see the internal war happening behind his eyes. This was the same man who manipulated him for years, the same man who made him question his worth, the same man who turned brother against brother in pursuit of maintaining control over the bloodline. Roman, ever the calculated leader, extended his hand to Jay, not for a handshake, not for a hug, but in that familiar gesture that every wrestling fan knows, the acknowledgement, the submission, the gesture that says, I am your tribal chief, and you will acknowledge me. The crowd was split. Half of them were chanting, acknowledge him. The other half were booing, recognizing the manipulation happening in real time. Jay looked at that hand for what felt like forever. The camera zoomed in on his face, capturing every micro-expression. You could see the pain, the conflict, the memories of everything he'd been through flooding back. And then, Jay raised the Usos' new One Tag Team Championship belt, not in celebration, not in defiance, but in a gesture that seemed to say, we did this, emphasizing the we in a way that excluded Roman. But here's where Roman showed why he's the greatest manipulator in WWE history. Instead of getting angry, instead of showing frustration, Roman simply smiled, that knowing, confident smile that tells you he's 10 steps ahead of everyone else. He pointed at the championships, then pointed at himself, as if to say, those titles exist because I exist, your success exists because I exist. You can pretend you did this on your own, but we all know the truth. And then Roman left the ring. He walked up the ramp, turned around one time to look at his cousins, raised his finger in the one gesture that represents the tribal chief, and disappeared backstage. The Usos were left in the ring, championship gold around their waists, but the celebration felt hollow, because everyone watching knew the truth. They didn't win those titles on their own. Roman Reigns came back and gave them those titles, and now, whether they like it or not, they're in debt to the tribal chief. Why this is absolutely genius and infuriating. Let's break down why this angle is brilliant from a storytelling perspective, but also why it should have fans absolutely furious. First, WWE just erased months of character development for the Usos in a single segment. Think about that. We spent the entire summer and fall watching Jey Uso become his own man. We watched him stand up to Roman. We watched him declare that he didn't need the bloodline to be successful. We watched him reconnect with his brother and forge a new path. And in one night, WWE said, actually, you do need Roman Reigns. You always needed Roman Reigns. Without him, you were going to lose. That's not just controversial. That's a direct slap in the face to everyone who invested emotionally in Jey's journey to his independence. But here's the genius part. It's realistic. In real life, toxic relationships don't just end cleanly. Manipulative family members don't just disappear. They come back. They insert themselves back into your life exactly when you're vulnerable, exactly when you need something, and then they hold it over your head forever. That's what Roman just did. He waited for the perfect moment, the moment when the Usos were about to fail, about to come up short, about to prove that maybe they weren't championship material without the Bloodline, and he swooped in, saved the day, and now Jimmy and Jay owe him. WWE just created a storyline that's going to generate months of television. Here are the questions everyone is asking. Will Jay accept Roman's help, or will he vacate the title? That's the question burning up social media right now. Does Jey Uso have the integrity to say, I didn't earn this, and give up the championship, or does he rationalize it, accept the tainted victory, and slowly fall back under Roman's control? What does Roman want in return? Because make no mistake, the tribal chief doesn't do anything without expecting something back. Did he help the Usos win out of family loyalty? Absolutely not. Roman Reigns is building something. He's rebuilding the Bloodline, and the Usos just became the first pieces he's putting back on the board. What does this his Solo Sikoa's Bloodline affect? Let's not forget there's another Bloodline running around WWE right now. Solo Sikoa has been claiming to be the new tribal chief. He's got his own crew, his own agenda. What happens when Roman and Solo inevitably collide? Are the Usos caught in the middle? Do they have to choose which Bloodline to support?